The Dandy Andy Experience.
Welcome back to the Dandy Andy Experience. I hope each and every one of you are doing okay on this Monday. So yes, it is Monday, but hey, we got a new episode of this out. I get to hang out with you guys today and hopefully get your shifts going faster. So first off, hope you're doing all right. Today, we're kind of doing a different one than we would normally do. Well, I guess every single one would be different than the ones you would normally do, right? Because today we are actually going to be looking at kind of like pros and cons of Rockstar Games and Bethesda, kind of see where Bethesda Games went wrong and where Rockstar Games has still got it going on. But, you know, maybe we'll look at some cons with them too, but we will also be answering a metric ton. I'm not past 30 seconds yet, am I? But anyways, we will be answering a lot of your questions. So let's get into this. Of course, the wait for Grand Theft Auto 6 is now much shorter than it has ever been because we are closer to it than we've ever been. So just think about that. Every day you wake up, every day you get in your car, go to work, whatever you're doing, we are getting closer to this game. Also, don't forget about the PS5 giveaway I'm doing here on the channel. Whether it's going to be a slim or a normal one, I don't really know yet. It's still kind of up in the air, but the whole PS5 giveaway thing is still happening. So if you watch the base videos, there are hidden codes in there for you to find, put them all together. At the very end, I'll let you know when all the codes are out there. And once you have all these codes, you put them together in a sequence. They're released chronologically, so that shouldn't be hard. And then you have to figure out what these numbers mean when they're all put together. So the first person to send me the proper answer, the correct answer to my email, will receive a PlayStation 5. So anyways, I just wanted to put that back out there. There seems to be a little bit of confusion about the whole PS5 thing. So yeah. But anyways, let's get into this, you know, because, well, real quick, last week I wanted to have this out and I wanted to have another thing out. You know, last week I did Monday and a Tuesday release. So you guys were probably like, whoa, are we getting 4 videos or something this week? And that was the goal. But at some point I was just working too much and I was like, I'm just going to be phoning it in. So here I am recording this over the weekend. I've got some coffee and I'm much more relaxed and just ready to have a good time with y'all. So anyways, let's actually get into this video now. So with Rockstar Games, let's start off with their pros. Here's how I'm going to do this. We're going to go Rockstar Games pros. We're going to do Rockstar Games cons. Then we're going to look at Bethesda, do pros and cons, and then just kind of compare them both a little bit. And then maybe go on a huge tangent here and there. And why am I doing this? Well, there's been a lot, you know, I'm not sure if you're aware or if you keep up with Bethesda Games or whatever, but, you know, the Fallout TV show, there was all this hype kind of surrounding a potential Fallout 3 remaster or a Fallout New Vegas remaster. And man, I would have liked to have seen those things. Not going to lie. I love Fallout. In fact, the B-roll that's on screen right now is most likely Fallout New Vegas because that is what I'm currently playing through. And I record every time I play. But, and it's also being played on the ROG Ally X. And if you're interested in getting one of those, I'll see if I can put a link in the description for you to check out. I highly recommend the ROG Ally X at this moment over any other gaming handheld for a multitude of reasons. But anyways, the reason why this might not be such a good idea for Bethesda, and we'll get into this maybe a little bit more later, is you can't mod it once it's out, right? Once the game, not their remasters, but the Unreal Engine 5 wrapper. If you're not aware, when the Oblivion remaster came out, it was released with an Unreal Engine 5 wrapper. And then basically everything below that is the original game. So it's still the same janky Game Biro engine. And it makes it to where you could technically mod it the way you used to, but then the things that actually communicate to Unreal Engine 5, things don't translate. So the items that you put in and everything, they might not populate in Unreal Engine 5 because it's basically like we have the base game to where you could still mod it, take all those old mods, and theoretically they should just work, right? Or, you know, very close. But then when something about this translation to the whole Unreal Engine 5 part where it actually translates and displays the game, we don't have the access to whatever's going on there to be able to make these mods work. So that's why the mod scene for that game is kind of crappy and there's only a few light ones, which sucks because my New Vegas playthrough has over 1,000 mods. And I feel like there's so many amazing quest mods now that I could never play the game without. I play with New California, which basically starts the courier off with like a whole backstory And I like having a backstory to my characters and stuff, and being able to play through the backstory and make the decisions. That way, when New Vegas starts, I'm already 26 hours in and my character's experienced. It just makes more sense. And it just makes living in that world feel much more realistic, especially with, I don't want to spoil it if you ever play New California, but there's a lot of carryover into the base game that makes it worth doing because it's set 21 years before the base game. So I digress. I mean, I'm kind of going off the beaten path here, but a lot of people do just use games or like mods to basically make games play like modern games, but there's a lot more than just that with these modern, mods for New Vegas. Like one of the smallest things that adds a crap ton of immersion is the ability to just reach out and touch things. Like literally everything you do now has an animation. And when you play with that, you never want to go back to playing without it. Because I always thought Elder Scrolls, Fallout games even, there's just something about it where it doesn't feel like you're really in the world. Like it does for a little bit, but you realize you're just kind of like a camera going around opening up menus, and that's it. Like when you open up an inventory. I hate that. With the mods I have, like when you can smoke a cigarette and become addicted to cigarettes, you can go insane and start hearing voices, which makes sense given all the crap that your character goes through. You can, use those cigarettes to help give certain stat buffs and stuff like that. But at the same time, you can also become addicted. I have to take antipsychotics in the game in order not to hear a bunch of voices. The voices that you hear are context-based and work based off of what's happening in the game. It's incredible. And that's just that. Dude's got to drink, dude's got to eat, dude's got to sleep. And all these things affect his mental health. Also, I've got a diseases mod, which also affects mental health. I've got new medicines to deal with that. I've got a whole crafting system around getting these things that I need. I've got a scarcity mod that makes important things a little bit more rare. And I've got more realistic damage mods, all that kind of stuff. So you see, there's a gameplay loop that's already emerged just from those things. And not only that, but when you use these items, now the courier will actually put them out in front of them, pop off a lid, or, light the cigarette. So you see the thing happen that you're doing instead of it just a little text bubble at the top left going, you did this. It makes the game so much immersive, especially when you're cooking over a campfire and it's like Red Dead Redemption 2, and your courier will actually put the meat on the pan and put it over the fire. So the game feels so much more immersive with just that. And that's not even counting all of the little mods to help flesh it out, like mods that make it to where you have a bunch more random encounters. There's a crap ton more quests. Some of the best written quests ever are from some guy, or the Some Guy series. And he is now Some Rooster. He has just recently come back and he's making mods. And man, his mods are incredible. There's also the Overseer series, which I haven't actually got to play through yet, but a lot of people say his mods are absolutely amazing. There's also Autumn Leaves. There's a couple of horror mods that I'm really looking forward to playing too. I got a bunch of stuff that flesh out the Strip. Got a bunch of stuff that fleshes out Freeside, Novak, like all these locations, and they all work together. The game doesn't crash, and it's beautiful. Not only that, but I could go through this whole game. So I've got New California, right? And it's this huge backstory. You start off in a vault, 26, 30 hours of gameplay, start New Vegas, and then I slowed down the XP gains to make, that way I'm not super over leveled, and the game is just so massive. After you do everything that there is to do, and there is a lot, like 5 times how much you could originally do, then I'm now looking at this one mod that people are saying the writing sucks, but apparently they're rewriting it and the scripting is next level. And that is the Frontier mod. So this is just going to be this super massive epic quest that no game has ever touched. And Bethesda will never touch this. They'll never get close to touching this experience that I am having with New Vegas. In fact, I can only think of one other game that has, and that's Red Dead Redemption 2. And that's without any mods. Now think about that. It takes all of these mods, right, to give me that experience in New Vegas. I mean, small stuff like being able to drag bodies from one room to another, you need a mod, to do stuff like that. Or I've got like a Snake's cardboard box, for Metal Gear Solid. It's kind of a fun mod and you can use it just like you can in Metal Gear. Or I've got a Trank gun, stuff like that fleshes out how the game is played. Being able to loot NPCs while they're unconscious. Just small stuff like that we take for granted in games. When you put them all together, you start to see that what makes a game great is in the small details. It really is. And Red Dead Redemption 2 is the sum of so many tiny little parts working together that just make it outstanding. And I really can't help but look at Red Dead Redemption 2 when I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, because as one of you pointed out, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be a lot closer to Red Dead Redemption 2 than Grand Theft Auto 5. Just based on who's writing it, just based on everything going on in the company, the logical leap is to pull everything from that game. For instance, if you play Grand Theft Auto 4 and go to Grand Theft Auto 5, you'll find that Red Dead Redemption, the first one, is a lot closer to what you get in Grand Theft Auto 5 than you get in GTA 4, So I digress, but I don't know. It seems that a lot of these small, tiny details are going to be in Grand Theft Auto 6. A lot of the small, immersive features that make a game feel big and epic. And they've spent so long doing this game, because think about it. Fallout New Vegas was made in 18 months. And it's held together only because you basically have a massive dev team working on it 24/7. Yeah, it's modders, and most of them are doing it for free. And with modding, it's kind of, there's not really that quality threshold guarantee, but that doesn't mean that there's not just an absolute ton of mods that pass that quality threshold and even go beyond it. And I've kind of curated a playlist. Not a playlist. I've kind of curated a massive list of mods for myself that I go through the game with, and it makes it feel just bigger and better than anything ever before. And it's kind of fun. Last night I was thinking, what if when the game came out, they had released it like this and it had all of this stuff just in the game from the get-go, just all of it. And then I started thinking also, because there's every now and then you'll run into like a little jank, to where you'll use one of your various mod tools to be like, okay, let's correct this or tweak this a little bit. It's not even that it's jank. It's just that you're like, oh, in order for this to be balanced, I need to reduce my XP gains and stuff like that. But imagine if this game had come out with all the tweaking and all that already figured out, and it had this massive combined package, and then add settlement building in there too, just for fun. It would blow absolutely anything and everything out of the water. But if we get a New Vegas remaster, it's just going to be the vanilla game reskinned to look better with a couple of quality life mods. And the thing is I don't know. The game is good. It is. It's great. It's a great game. But it benefits so much from the community who loves that game, who has written their own stories that support the lore and support everything going on around you. And it just makes the game feel so much larger in scope. I don't know. I can't tell you all enough or sing the praises of New Vegas enough. And this is someone who was a Fallout 3 diehard when New Vegas came out. I put the game down. I didn't like it. It took a long time to grow on me, but I absolutely love it. I get the hype. I see why it's so overhyped, but unless you've played through it like super incredibly modded, dude, you are missing out. You are missing out. So, and that's Bethesda's plan right now. You know, like think about that. I, as a consumer of their games, I am focused on playing like an old game now. This came out in 2010. I was in high school, you know. I'm still playing this game today in 2026, 16 years later. 16 times the detail. I'm sorry. But 16 years later, heavily modded. And if they came out with a remaster, I might get it to like touch it, you know, just to see what's up. And then just be like, that would be cool if this was in the game I'm actually playing. And then I would stop playing it. And that's how it goes. Oblivion Remastered, I feel like worked because there's not really that many good mods for Oblivion Remastered, or there's not that many good mods for the original Oblivion. Now there is, but not compared to what we have now for these other games. So, but you see, Bethesda, it's a double-edged sword. The modding thing is really cool, but I think they rely way too heavily on mods to add the quality of life features that Rockstar Games ships their games with. And you know, there's this running joke with Rockstar Games where they put out their game and everything's perfect until you find the one or two bugs that are in there and you're like, oh damn. And you know, like, buckle in, we're going to have these bugs with us until this game is over and we're on to the next game. Because that's kind of how they do it. They kind of do one and done, you know? So they work their butts off to give you an amazing game. They give it to you and like, that's it. That's all we're going to do. So it's two different kind of gameplay philosophies, right? You know, Bethesda will release a broken game nowadays and then have to fix it. I mean, they used to release broken games, but not nearly as broken as the state Fallout 76 was in when it came out. But I'm beating a dead horse at that point. And I think that was, my goodness, is that 8 years ago now? Was that even longer? 8 years ago. You guys know we got the Skyrim announcement, or not Skyrim, we got the next Elder Scrolls announcement 8 years ago. Let that sink in. That's more time than between Morrowind and Oblivion. It's absurd. What in the world are we doing? Man, it's like some sort of crazy pandemic or something hit and set us all back a bit. I don't know. But I've been on a huge tangent, but I think it does pertain heavily to what we're talking about today. I'm just in that mindset. So let's dumb it down a little bit, though, and let's just look at a pro from Rockstar. So to kind of follow up on what I'm saying, let's say Rockstar's first pro is quality over quantity. That's their strategy. They have massive gaps between releases, but when they do finally release something, it's extremely polished. Grand Theft Auto 5, as much as I like to crap on it, it is an extremely polished game. It is. There is no denying how polished Grand Theft Auto 5 is. It plays smooth. It plays like butter. And from a technical standpoint, it is a freaking masterpiece. Red Dead Redemption 2, I can't think of another game that reaches those heights. I think that is, at this point in time, mechanically speaking, maybe the best game of all time. And just with all the small details and everything. Okay, but anyways, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, these are huge cultural events. Every Grand Theft Auto game that's come out in my lifetime, well, that's all of them. I'm dating myself here. Except for maybe like the first one, and maybe even the second one. Maybe starting with Grand Theft Auto 3. Everything since Grand Theft Auto 3 has been like a massive cultural event when it's come out. And I remember when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, you got to remember, I think this was post 9/11. So on the news and everything, Fox News was programming my mom with all sorts of information on how the game's going to make her kid evil. And she was like, you will not be playing that game. You can hijack cars and, stuff like that. And I actually remember when I first played Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Well, it's not when I first played it. When I first got it, my dad brought it home one day and he's like, you know what? It's time. And he didn't consult my mom about it. And that's not really a good thing. You should, if you're married, you should talk to your partner about stuff or whatever. But whatever, he made an executive decision and I benefited from it. But they came in my room and they were like, okay, let's watch him play Grand Theft Auto Vice City and let's see what happens. So I popped the game in and I run around. And the very first thing I do was, I think it's R1, R2, L1, R2, left down, right up, left down, right up. And that's like the weapons one cheat code or whatever. I might be wrong, but I think that's what that is. And I, spammed that a few times, just immediately started gunning everyone down because I was like, let's just show them the absolute worst case scenario with this game. Now that was dumb. I should have shown them the context of like, hey, this is actually a huge epic crime story. And 99% of the time, I'm not running around doing this. This is what you do when you get bored in the game. But I just got my hands on Grand Theft Auto when I was a kid. And this is the first Grand Theft Auto that I could now actually own instead of having to play over at someone's house. So it was on. The other ones, I had to slowly chip away at beating the game at their house. And I missed total sections because they would play on my save, or maybe my save would get deleted, or I would have a memory card and then bring it over there and it would have the save and then we'd get our memory cards swapped up. It was just real loosey-goosey back then, that would not fly today. But that's just how it was, because we're kids. But anyways, they were shocked because our neighbor across the street, he was a police officer and he was a really, really cool guy. He had the cop mustache, the whole, I don't know. He's just a good guy. I really liked him. He was very cool. And I remember one time I went over to his house and he had just gotten home from a shift and he'd taken off his gun belt and put it down. And my dumbass, the first thing I do is go over there and start looking at it, but of course they're thinking I'm going right for his gun. And the dude, I think he went to go take a dump. He just teleported basically over there to his gun belt and took it and went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, no, you're not going to be doing that. And he went and put it up and he was beating himself up for that so hard. But I mean, he just come home from a really intense shift. And he'd actually recently had a buddy who had just been shot in duty, in the line of duty or whatever. And he passed away. He got killed in a shootout. So pretty crazy. And that dude went on to do a lot of stuff I can't talk about, apparently. I don't know if I can or can't, but, just to be safe, I'm going to say I can't talk about it. But mad props to that guy. He was really cool. Anyways, now that you know who this person is, I'm over here across the street, across the cul-de-sac, playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City with both of my conservative Christian parents there watching me do this. And they are scared out of their minds at seeing like what this kid is doing. I'm running around just burning everyone alive, cutting people's heads off with a katana, jumping into a rhino tank, shooting cops. And I remember my mom asked me, she's like, is this fun? Do you like to kill police officers? And I was just like, yeah, it's a video game. And she was like, Robert's, or I'm sorry. She's like, well, whatever. She's like, Robert's a police officer. And then I was just like, yeah, maybe he would like this game, And I was trying to tell her like, yes, just because I'm in this virtual space doing these horrible, evil things doesn't mean I would do them in real life. I'm playing around in a world. This is ludicrous. This is all fake. Once these people start acting real, it kind of changes, which is why it gets a little harder to do the stuff you can do in Vice City and later games, I think, just because of how much more human people become. And I think that's kind of a good thing. I think when you do those things, it should show you, oh, that's not good. That's why we don't do that in real life, because I feel guilty about that. But that's a whole nother thing. But Vice City, man, it's fun. Like, of course, the game celebrates you going on like rampage missions and stuff like that. So that's just a funny memory I have with Vice City and everything like that. Just, I don't know. It's kind of funny how Grand Theft Auto, it had so many hurdles to overcome here in the Bible Belt. But now everybody who is like in the police force or in the military or, in politics or, running the country on the lower levels and stuff like that are people my age. So they all play video games. Well, a lot of them. So Grand Theft Auto is not as taboo as it used to be, which is good for us. If I was president, the first thing I'd do is, make Grand Theft Auto for all. And I think a good way of seeing kind of like this shift from what Grand Theft Auto used to be to what it is now is think of it like Red Dead Redemption 2 is like critically acclaimed, like is considered a work of art. We're talking about these games in a way that we used to not. And it's cool. They always deserved it. We just weren't ready for it yet. And I think they were ahead of their time. They found something that worked. And Rockstar Games did everything they could to expand on what they had. San Andreas, when it was originally supposed to ship, was supposed to have like all of these RPG features that it didn't ship with, like much more immersive dating and stuff like that, having to eat and drink and stuff like that to survive, small stuff like that. And that could be a little skewed from what it originally was, but there's a bunch of features like that. They wanted it to feel like an immersive world that you could live in. So this whole thing with Red Dead Redemption 2, and they're like, oh, they went to immersive. That's always been the goal. That's been where they've wanted to go. So Grand Theft Auto 6, probably going to have a lot of that. I think 5 was a direct response to them going too far with Grand Theft Auto 4. I think in Grand Theft Auto 4, people were like, okay. And then in Red Dead Redemption, maybe they got tired because in 4 and Red Dead Redemption, we're dealing with heavy topics. And yeah, there's dark humor and stuff there, but they're like, you know what, let's just have fun. Even though Grand Theft Auto 5 is dark in a whole other kind of way. In fact, I think it's the darkest Grand Theft Auto game it is because of how nihilistic it is. It's got no soul. There is no hope. That's how it feels to me when I play that game. It's just an absolute worship, like a monkey-brained worship of the dollar, and just doing anything in your power to get it, and the amount of cruelty that you do to your fellow man to get it, and you see other people around you do. I think that's what it's about, right? It's about the rat race. That's what it seems to be about. But I don't really know. I still have to beat it. So anyways, these games are critically acclaimed now. They put quality over quantity. And also, as we've been talking about, their immersion and simulation depth. That's what I have next here. Red Dead Redemption 2, you got to eat. You got weight gain, loss. There's the detailed first-person mode, contextual animations for most actions, which, like I was talking about with the New Vegas mods that I added, are huge. When you go up to, think about the first time Dutch asks you to start looting the place. It's right when you meet Sadie, right? Or when you save Sadie. And you're going in that house. It's at the very beginning of the game. And you go into first person and you're like, oh, I can pick up this can of beans. Oh, I can just eat it. oh, I can keep it. Like just stuff like that. I was like, holy crap, what am I playing? This is amazing. And the sound design, like I can go around and touch the objects and actually pick them up. And when you go to stores in Red Dead Redemption 2, same thing. You can pick up the cigars off the shelf. I love it. It is insane. And it takes thousands of mods to bring that level of immersion to New Vegas. Red Dead Redemption 2 just ships with it. There's only like 5 mods I actually play with when I play Red Dead Redemption 2. And those mods are like combat stuff, like stuff that just makes people bleed out slower. Like it makes it to where basically when you're in a shootout, you're going to have a couple of people left over going, oh, because that's how it goes, right? Not everyone instantly dies in a shootout. So stuff like that. And it could be more mods than that. Like I think I have a basic needs system that makes it way more intense than it has any right to be. I also have like darker nights. I have different rain. There's some, world persistence. So like if you go around the side of, go around the bend and shoot up a carriage or whatever and blow up a bunch of stuff, it'll still be there for a while when you come back. Cause I don't like it when you turn your back and then things are gone. I understand why they do it for a memory resource perspective kind of thing. But if I'm playing on a computer, it can handle it. So if my computer can handle it. So stuff like that. Also like a darker mini map, auto horse centering, the ability to go prone, and it's kind of janky, but I just like it because I like to sneak around a lot in games. I also got rid of like the horse auto holster thing. So like if you jump on a horse as Arthur, he'll just immediately holster his rifle. Or if you're just running around long enough and he's got his rifle up in the air, he'll holster it. I got rid of that. There was like, there's no need for that. If I got my rifle out, I want my rifle out. I'll press the button to put it up when I want it up. I also got rid of the stupid horse auto equip. And I don't even know why they had that. They're like, for this mission, you'll use this, and that. Get rid of that. There's a reason I have a loadout. I will choose. So I got that out of the game. Also, like, I got a mod that makes it to where, like, if you fall over, your hat will fall off. There's an actual quiver that was supposed to be in the game for the bow and arrow. And now that I've told you that, you won't be able to unsee it if you play Red Dead Redemption 2. There's no quiver. Well, now I have a quiver. Or when you put a sack over yourself at camp, it's like a brick, but now it actually leans over Arthur's arms. I got another mod to where when Arthur's around water with this horse, the horse will just go and naturally drink the water. I've also got an ultra realistic, like lively level style ragdolls. And that's big, right? And then there's other stuff like particles and weapon textures, because I'm playing in 4K now. But then there's also removing bullet trails because that's not realistic. There's no tracers or anything. I got rid of the hit markers. I got rid of like the safe essential tag for children so they can be shot, just because it's realistic. Not because I plan to do that, but if a stray hits them, I want it to thematically, I just want it to make sense, I want to feel like this world has consequences. Also, I added the ability to take people hostage. So, okay, that's a lot more mods than however many I originally said, but that is nothing compared to the amount of mods I have for New Vegas. And I'm not going to read you the list because it'd be the whole video. It would be several videos probably. But if you ever want me to, I would like to. I mean, I'm into it. I would tell you about it. So, also RPG systems are starting to be done a little bit better with like the health stamina cores, the horse bonding, social interactions, consequences for your behavior. It makes Red Dead 2 feel like a modern immersive role-playing game that many would expect from Bethesda. It's just that they're not so on the nose about all of these things. There's not like bars on the screen being like, you have now +5 horse affinity, nothing stupid like that. It's just like, your horse likes you more. And you see that as time goes on. And of course, you get that terrible cutscene at the end of the game if you are tight with your horse and they survive the whole game. So just stuff like that. It's like baked into the world. It feels believable. And I feel like they're kind of dropping the ball with Bethesda games when it comes to that. With stuff like Starfield, they were so close. They were so close. No, they weren't. There's an amazing bone structure there. And with this Starfield re-release or update or whatever, if they make it to where they can remove the stupid loading screens between travel, we're good. Like I should be able to fly my spaceship up to a planet, press a button, and go down to the planet. That's it. I shouldn't have to open a menu. I should be able to fly anywhere within a system. Like I should be able to fly planet to planet. If I go too fast with like a cruise thing or whatever, I should go smack into the planet and my ship explodes. If I run into a meteor or an asteroid in an asteroid belt, my ship should immediately explode. Stuff like that. Makes space travel fun and interesting. But they try to make it too foo-foo. They try to make it appeal to everyone. And they try to make it as watered down and sellable as possible. And it's kind of like the saying, a friend to all is a friend to none. That's kind of what Bethesda Games is starting to do. It's like, y'all are losing your edge. But, there's a whole reason for that. And I could get into that. But the bottom line is basically they've grown too big for their britches. Todd Howard, he's an amazing, talented man. He is. He really is. I mean, he's just not able to touch these projects anymore. So he's traveling around, working on TV, working on various different games. So he just, now everyone's got to go through a bunch of corporate loopholes and red tape and all that stuff to get their hands on him and talk to him. When used to, they would just get things figured out over a lunch break. So, there's a lot of, it's company culture that's really drowning Bethesda right now. And that's one thing. There's many other things, I'm sure, but that is one of them. So I think the RPG systems in Red Dead Redemption 2 are better in some ways. I mean, not entirely, because there's not like a level up and perks and stuff, but there kind of is in a way, because you can get better with things. And also it's like when you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2, just go into first person mode, whip out your lantern at night and go walk through a blizzard up in the mountains at night. And you'll be like, oh my God, we don't need Skyrim anymore. It's here. It's just in the game. Skyrim's just a feature in the game, and you have everything else. It can't be said enough how big of an adventure Red Dead Redemption 2 is and just how amazing it is. And they've got evolving tech constantly. They are improving their tech. Bethesda's always kind of beat up on for clinging to their old outdated engine, where you got the guys at Rockstar and we have this Rage engine, and it is being upgraded to constantly support dense open worlds, physics, and its cinematic presentation, and it doesn't feel outdated. It's funny too, because Grand Theft Auto games used to feel like, oh wow, we get all this freedom, but the graphics suck. But the art style is good, so the graphics are good enough. When people play these games, I don't think they understand. Like the old ones, like, wow, they all dealt with some low quality graphics back then. No. Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty came out in 2001. That game looks incredible, and it looks good even to this day. Grand Theft Auto 3 came out the same year. We knew the graphics weren't very good in those games, okay? And we were hoping that one day they would be. And now they are some of the best graphical showcases in all of gaming. It's really cool how far they've come with that. And I think that switch happened probably around, that was Grand Theft Auto 4. They were like, you know what, it's time. And a little bit, because Grand Theft Auto 4 did start to kind of look dated a little bit. Then they did it again with Grand Theft Auto 5, especially Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced. And then Red Dead, by the time we got to Red Dead Redemption, which was before 5, I think we were there. But by the time we got to Red Dead Redemption 2, it was just like, this is just beautiful. So it's insane how far they've come with the graphics. So also that shows you that they are on top of keeping their engine up to date. And also their market power is insane. Grand Theft Auto 6 is the most anticipated game of all time. It just is. And Take-Two is already framing it as a potential milestone for all of entertainment, not just gaming. So it's going to be the biggest thing to happen in entertainment. It's Elvis, okay? Grand Theft Auto 6 is Elvis of the video gaming world. So it's ridiculous. Now, I've been really singing their praises and then pooping on Bethesda, but Rockstar does have some cons, like their slow output. Now, it could be a good and bad thing, because when they put out a world, it's huge, it's awesome. You get a decade to experience it now. The thing I don't like about that is maybe you don't like the game, like Grand Theft Auto 5. I've been waiting on a new Grand Theft Auto since Grand Theft Auto 4. So for me, that's since 2008. So almost 20 years. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5 wasn't my thing, like at all, So I'm just waiting for the next one. And I feel like they kind of neglect their side IPs, like Bully. I mean, I remember back in 2006, after I played Bully, I was like, oh, I can't wait for Bully 2. Oh, man, if we're lucky, it'll come out next year. At worst case scenario, 3 years. Man, that's so long. Man, there's no Bully 2. Max Payne, think about it. And then they have a heavy reliance on Grand Theft Auto Online. Long-term focus on basically just monetizing, just sucking all the money out of you with shark cards. And they're doing that instead of giving us single-player DLC, which I would happily pay for. Plus Red Dead Online it's unsupported, and that sucks. They could have built something out of that if they wanted to, and they chose not to. There's the whole crunch culture thing. I think like if, at this point now, if you're starting to work for Rockstar, you know what you're signing up for. But, you should treat your employees well. I'm not going to sit here and be like, screw them as long as I get I don't know. That whole individual mindset is very American. But, I think from a human perspective, we should just kind of look at it and be like, yo, that sucks. We shouldn't make people go insane creating things. So maybe dial it down a little bit. But also, there's the expectation for the workers to show up and work hard. So, you got to find that middle ground, right? You don't want your workers to go crazy, but they can't just show up and screw around. They need to show up and get the job done. So there's a lot of reports of intense overtime. I've talked about this and about this, and the workplace stress tied to their perfectionist output. But you know what? Sometimes you have to go a little crazy to get things perfect. I find that in anything in life, doing anything worth doing sucks. Working out, creating videos for this channel when I don't feel like it without phoning it in. And that's a lot harder than it sounds. When you watch a YouTube channel, you're like, wow, these guys got an easy gig. This is hard work. I'm not going to lie. This is way harder than I ever thought it was going to be. And I'm still doing it because I am addicted. I can't stop. I love it. I love doing this, but it's hard work. I don't really have any free time anymore, ever. And then the time I do have it, I am recording it so that I could then use it for this. So, the whole thing about turning your passions or whatever and your hobbies into what you do for a living, or trying to monetize it and make money off of it and that kind of thing. So, and that's just the YouTube thing. And I mentioned working out, or if you're trying to, college is not that hard. Well, it depends. Undergrad's not that hard, but if you're going past that, it's brutal. If you're going to law school or something like that, absolutely brutal. So it seems like if there's anything that you ever want out of life, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be hard to get, and you're going to have to suffer a lot to get it. And I feel like the employees at Rockstar Games know a lot about that because, their names are on the greatest game of all time, arguably Red Dead Redemption 2, but they had to suffer for it. Okay. All right, so I've sung the praises of Rockstar Games and given you the cons. But what about Bethesda Game Studios? I've crapped on them a lot. What are some pros with them? Well, there's no denying that they have created legendary RPGs. Okay, Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, early Fallout entries like Fallout 3, and now Obsidian did New Vegas. That's really it as far as they are concerned. Fallout, I think Fallout 4 is not that good. I don't think Fallout 76 is anything I care to play very much. I've played it. I got a buddy who's really into it. Same buddy who's into Grand Theft Auto Online, but I don't like it. It does not feel like Fallout. Play Fallout 1 and 2. You'll see what I mean. It's like you go from that to Disneyland, basically. I don't understand it. Like, it's dead, man. It's not Fallout even. But anyways, Fallout 3 there for a little bit, and it felt great. I think that they did a great job bringing it back. It was a little dumb having the super mutants over there on the East Coast, but I see why they did it. And people are like, oh, they're lazy. It's a writing thing. No, I don't think so. I think it's because they knew that the people who played Fallout 1 and 2 wanted to see those same creatures rendered in 3D, what it would look like, and came up with a lore reason to have them there so that you could experience that again and be like, but look what it looks like now, So that's it. Also, they've had just a massive mainstream impact with Skyrim and even Fallout 4. As much as I crap on it, it's fun with mods. There's no amount of mods that can fix the story, unfortunately, or the writing. If you're playing through it, I highly recommend you get a mod that just removes the voice from the protagonist, so you can play as a silent protagonist. These are the only kind of games where I want that. I want to imagine my character's voice. I don't want it to be dialed in and sound like an off-brand Commander Shepard. Mass Effect is Mass Effect. Commander Shepard's Commander Shepard. In this game, I'm whoever the hell I want to be. Don't make me Nate and Nora, So, Skyrim and Fallout 4, they sold millions, and they're evergreen titles. And what evergreen basically just means, it's always going to make you money. It's always going to be relevant. For example, all the videos I make on my channel are not evergreen because they are hyping up Grand Theft Auto 6, talking about, everything we know about Grand Theft Auto 6. After Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, nobody's going to be watching the big AI video on my channel. Like, Grand Theft Auto 6's AI will be insane, but they might watch a breakdown of me taking basically all of the stuff from Grand Theft Auto 6, a bunch of footage and stuff, and making a huge video and being like, Grand Theft Auto 6's AI is currently insane, and I can prove it, and here's the footage to back it up, that kind of thing. But anyways, sorry, tangent. But those games have been re-released for like over a decade. Skyrim, I think, is where Bethesda peaked, and then it's just been downhill since. There's also the Fallout TV show as a pro. Amazon's Fallout show it's massively boosted player numbers, bringing in tens of millions in additional revenue and licensing. And it proves that the IP strength works outside of the game. Like, it proves it's a strong IP. And it's not a perfect TV or video game to TV adaptation, but it's the best we've ever seen. And one of my first videos on here, in fact, the first video I had that got over 1,000 views on my channel is me absolutely tearing apart the first episode of the first season. Because it didn't, I've got this thing in my head on what that game should be. And that's another problem. With Fallout and Bethesda games in general, everyone's got such a wild interpretation of like how things should feel and be based on how they've modded their games. So it was really dumb of me to expect them to go for the Fallout 1 and 2 approach, because that's not culturally relevant anymore. Now they're trying to, well, it is, but that's not what they're trying to sell. They're trying to sell you on Fallout 4, on the foo-foo-ness. So, everything's a little cleaned up in the show, feels too much like a Disney theme park. But at the same time, they have some incredible scenes and moments that I've seen in the show. I don't know. It's a mixed bag. It's all over the place. If you're into Fallout, just watch it. It's not Breaking Bad. It's not Better Call Saul. It's not Game of Thrones post or pre-season 7 and 8. It's good though, to some extent. I don't know. The best thing on TV though right now is the Sir Duncan Seven Kingdoms show. It's funny. It's really short too, and set in the Game of Thrones universe, and actually has a heart and a soul, even though the world he's in is very cruel. I like that. It's been great. That's a good time. I think that's a sleeper. Also, bring back Severance. Can't wait. All right. Now let's talk about cons for Bethesda games. Well, I've kind of touched on this. The systematic dumbing down of their RPG depth. And I've talked a bit about this. So with the systematic dumbing down of RPG depth and stuff like that, I just feel like if they're going to be an RPG, they should be an RPG. Remember games like Morrowind? Way more advanced, than compared to what we have now. Like, you didn't even get a quest marker for a lot of the stuff. You just had to figure it out. And there was a lot of improvements in later titles that could work with Morrowind, and all that kind of stuff. Like the whole hit chance when Morrowind's a true RPG. When you're swinging at an enemy, you're going to miss a lot unless your skill's high, because it's not like actual, combat as you would have it in today's standards. It's more like you're clicking a button and there's a chance you may or may not hit them, like a CRPG or something like that. Oblivion was more simplified. And even then, Oblivion still has a lot of good stuff. It's got some controversial stuff as well. And then a lot of that stuff was removed by Skyrim. And I loved Oblivion because I was able to upgrade my acrobat skill by just jumping. And before you knew it, I was hooded out with like a bow, doing the Dark Brotherhood, or a dagger even, doing the Dark Brotherhood stuff. And then I also had the Boots of Spring-Hill Jack. I think that's what it is from the Thieves Guild. And so I became like some super stealth agent, able to jump and scale massive heights and basically just survive the most ridiculous, intense stuff in that game with no fall damage from those boots. So it was really freaking cool. You can't really do that in Skyrim. And then Fallout 4 really dumbed it down. It turned Fallout into just a straight up shooter. And it's like, while those shooting mechanics would have been appreciated in previous titles like New Vegas, and now we need mods to get it there. And even better than Fallout 4, like the whole like weapon check stuff. I love it. Like being able to check your ammo or check the weapon condition in your hands. Very much like Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Like checking the weapon condition and stuff like that. But it's just been dumbed down. And now Starfield is probably the most egregious of all of them. It's just you look at the perks and they're boring, like 10% health boost, just stupid shit like that. So Starfield under-delivered big time, especially compared to the hype it had. And I think that the review scores and everything kind of reflect that. It was Todd Howard's, wildest dream that he wanted to have come true. And I just feel like they weren't able to quite pull it off and stick the landing. And they're clinging even to the old engines. It feels like it's like y'all need a new engine for every game at this point. But Creation Engine's roots go back 20 years. even ex-devs, they argue that Bethesda should finally move to something like Unreal Engine 5 due to animation physics and tech limitations. Now, the thing is whatever they choose to do, I hope they still are able to leave it open enough to be modded the way that we're able to currently mod Bethesda titles. And then Fallout 76 is released, did massive damage to the brand. I mean, apocalyptic, no pun intended, because people are still talking about it. The launch was horrible. I remember when Fallout 76 was announced, and me and my buddies were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. A game we can actually all play together that is set in a world that we really like. And, when we did get that eventually, it's so cartoonish in how they did it. And that's with the game working. This is back when the game launched disastrously. I mean, if you want Fallout Online, you want it to feel like Fallout, go play DayZ. DayZ's where it's at. Go play that. Go play Rust. On the big servers, if you can get tight with people. I mean, you're going to have to use your voice and actually get tight with people and be like, hey, I don't have anything. I'm a friend, or I'm trying to be friendly. I'm trying to join you. And you can join up in their faction and everything. And before you know it, you are living in probably the most immersive Fallout Online game you're ever going to play ever. And it's a blast. There's a bunch of weird little interesting situations that happen in a game like Rust that can only happen in a game like Rust. But these situations that happen feel like unscripted, or they feel like scripted Fallout quests sometimes. It's pretty insane. Like even as far as random encounters, like one time I remember I was sneaking around a dude's base, messing with them, trying to get in at night. Really, I was stranded out there naked and I was trying to get back to my home. But it was, nighttime and I didn't know the direction and I don't know, I was lost. So I was just sitting there messing with this guy. Eventually, to get me to go away, he comes up to his little, he had like a window, like a vendor window to where he could give me stuff, but he had bulletproof glass just to make sure. And he gave me belongings to survive. It was like, hey, this is a rough neighborhood. Be very careful and watch out for so-and-so up on that hill. They've been active lately and they've been doing this. And it's a gang of Chinese guys and they're going around shooting everyone in the neighborhood. So just be careful. And I took his advice and almost got jumped by them. But I did manage to make it home with the revolver he gave me, or the pipe pistol or whatever. Pipe revolver. But the thing is that's cool. That's where I think Fallout Online should have gone with Fallout 76. It didn't. And, it has a community now who loves the game, and that's great. That's great. But still, there was so much damage done from that initial release. And just an overall failure to meaningfully adapt to the gaming world. Instead of incorporating modern immersive ideas from other RPGs and open world titles, Bethesda often just really simplifies everything and reuses the same structural formula. They don't really try to update. They don't really try to innovate, not the way they used to. Think about with what they did with Oblivion. You can watch the making of Oblivion and they're talking about making the whole Radiant AI. And there's that demonstration where the guy's like, oh, and now she's mad at the dog and hits him with this spell and all this. And Todd Howard's over there nerding out. Like, that is so freaking cool. That's the Bethesda we need back. We need the team. We need the underdog nerd team who's got something to prove, because now they've made Skyrim. They got nothing to prove in their mind. And they've grown too big. And there's a bunch of people there who grew up as fans of these games. It's so radically different. Todd Howard is now this unreachable guy. It reminds me of my job. My job, I used to go in and shoot the crap with the boss for 2 hours. And we would just hang out and talk. Now he's unreachable, because his business has exploded and he's done very, very well. So I understand what that is like. And I respect it too, and my feelings aren't hurt about it or anything. I get it. That's how it is. I've become unavailable to people in my life, unfortunately, because of how busy I am doing stuff like this YouTube channel. It's just the way it goes. But they got to figure something else out, or we're never going to have the return of the Bethesda that we knew and love. And you know what? I'm not even asking to have a return of the Bethesda that we knew and love. I'm asking just that we get something. I just want them to win. I just want another win for Bethesda, because I love that company. I love their games. And I just want to see a massive slam dunk for them the way that we've seen with Rockstar Games. Okay? So that's kind of the difference there between both of them. It's basically Rockstar Games is on this upward trajectory, and Bethesda, it seems like, is doing the opposite. And it sucks, because I used to view these companies as like competing against each other. Not so much anymore. And Bethesda, they built the template for modern open world RPGs, but they slowly stripped away any depth and they've refused to modernize their tech. And Rockstar has quietly absorbed those immersive elements and executed them at a higher standard. Red Dead Redemption 2 feels like the kind of rich, systematic world world that many players once expected from Bethesda, and now we're not getting that. So I don't know. Where do we go from here? I don't know. But it's just been on my mind lately, just with all this news coming out about this Fallout remaster and everything going on with Grand Theft Auto 6. You guys have been here with me when this has happened. Rockstar Games has gotten some bad press, but it now looks like we're doing, we're locked in. It looks like that November date after this quarterly meeting or whatever they just had with the shareholders, it looks like we're good. And we should, even, dare I say, be expecting some new trailers or something like that soon, some new screenshots. We'll see. Maybe I'm going to go over to Rockstar Games' website right after recording this and see that they have put something out. I hope so. I don't know. Knock on whatever this is. Anyways, let's get into the best part of the podcast for me. And I think even maybe for some of y'all, maybe this is the most entertaining part, is listening to the questions. Questions people ask. It's kind of interesting because it's kind of a wild card, right? We could talk about anything. So even if you weren't into today's topic or something like that, maybe the questions will have kind of what you're looking for. They're a wild card. It's kind of a toss-up of everything. So let's see what we've got today in the way of questions. Okay, so for this first question, we have, hey, Andy, this is from Shaky Slide 1. I don't know if I've answered this before, but I actually have a whole list pulled up now, so I can answer it better if I did. Hey, Andy, I just wanted to say thank you for the shout out, man, and I have a question. So I'm about to play Grand Theft Auto 4 for the first time. Should I install mods, and if so, which ones? I got you. First off, Fusion Fix. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It is insane. It's going to flesh out the lights, all sorts of stuff. It's basically going to be like a quality of life HD, not HD, that's a bad way to put it. It's going to be like a quality of life remaster of Grand Theft Auto 4. It would be like if Rockstar actually kept up with the game and took good care of it. So now you can actually get those fixes for the game. There's also Rivers of Blood. I think that's what it's called. And it's basically a blood mod. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's a bunch of cool bleeding effects in Grand Theft Auto 4, and it adds more of that kind of stuff. There was like a cigarette smoking mod. I pretty much use that in any game I mod, except for some medieval game or whatever. I did use colored radio station icons for a little bit, but whatever. Weapon sounds, I've got a pack that redoes them, and then I've added my own sounds for some things as well. I would also do realistic traffic and potential grim. They have a merged file. So look up realistic look up realistic traffic and potential grim. Also just realistic driving in general. People are always complaining about the driving in Grand Theft Auto 4. So if you're one of those people, this is not for you. If you're someone who likes driving simulation put into a game, this makes it even more that. So definitely check it out. There's also flight paths. That's a cool mod. Basically, it makes it to where when you look up, there's different flight paths. So you'll actually see the planes flying over and stuff like that. It's small, but it's immersive and really cool. And then, of course, HD textures. I did have a Roman's Taxi mod that made it to where you see them out in the world, but something broke it. And I had to actually go into the Open 4 or whatever and just manually add Roman's Taxis into the world. So I wouldn't recommend messing with that for now. It's more work than it's worth, to be honest. Also weapon realism. I think that adds like recoil and stuff. It makes the shooting even more realistic in 4, which I like. People think that if you have a gun, you point at something, go pew, it's going to hit. But they forget that any slight deviation in your posture or how it's aimed or pointed dramatically affects where the projectile is ultimately going to land. It's made Grand Theft Auto 5 way too easy because everyone's shooting like a pro. Like not even a pro, but like the best shooters in the entire world. That's how you shoot in Grand Theft Auto 5. Then there's also traffic stops behind you. That's a huge mod for me. I don't even know if it's called that. That's just what I have it in the folder. But basically, when you stop, if you like to drive realistically sometimes and stop at lights and stuff like that, the people aren't going to ram you. They're going to wait. And then there's a drunk peds mod, which basically makes it to where there's a bunch of drunk people out in the world. Not like a bunch, but you'll run into drunk people in the world and it feels realistic. I've got a dialogue mod it's Red Dead Redemption 2's dialogue system. I wouldn't recommend it though if you're playing with a controller. And I just honestly probably wouldn't even use it because it's kind of jank. It's not meant to work like Red Dead Redemption 2's because they didn't plan with that in mind. I have a basic sitting mod. This I do use to sit down and listen to the saxophone players and stuff like that at parks or whatever. You can just sit in chairs. You can sit on the stairs. You can sit, and it's really cool. Also, what's cool about the smoking mod is I've got it tweaked to where, like, when I smoke a cigarette, it restores health in the game, and you can buy cigarettes from vendors in the world. So when you go up to vendors to buy like food items for healing or whatever, you also get cigarettes, and then that makes it just so much better. Because another thing I have is, I think I already talked about this, but maybe I haven't, is realistic damage. So like damage for weapons has been dramatically overdone to where 2 shots and you're dead. And so you're going to need to stay alive. So what I'll do is I'll have Nico light up a smoke, and he'll be running around with the cigarette in his mouth with the smoke trails coming out, and he's shooting and stuff. It's so cool. And it's like a slow health regen that Call of Duty 4, one of the modern Call of Duties and stuff would add. But it's finite. Like eventually that cigarette runs out and then you don't have that ability, and it's cool. There's also a bleeding mod I have to where if you get shot and you're low on health, Nico will bend over like the NPCs do, and he'll hold his stomach and you have to go get medical attention. It sounds cool, but it kind of messes up the flow of the game. So I wouldn't recommend it. And lastly, probably the most recommended mod I would have is the banking mod. So basically you can deposit money into ATMs and stuff like that. And then if you die and you have money on you, you lose all of it. And it makes the shootouts in the game feel awesome. And then so you go and you put your money in the bank as soon as you earn it, and it starts collecting interest and stuff like that. So it can make money for you over the game. And it just makes it to where, once you have a bunch of money from a mission, you're like, oh, I got to get this to the bank quick. And it's really cool because, it's just another thing to think about. And you go to the ATM, say you're going to have a night out with Brucey or Roman or whatever. You have to go hit up the ATM and be like, all right, how much is this night going to cost me, and take the money out. It's cool. Stuff like that. And it also makes dying punishing, which I think makes shootouts in games much, much better. So highly recommend that. So anyways, I hope that answered your question. Then we have Killer Cameron and Andy. Why do you overly hate on Grand Theft Auto 5 every chance you get? I get it, you prefer 4, but this feels less like a preference or a disappointment and more of a hatred. I don't hate Grand Theft Auto 5. Maybe I do. Okay, so what happened was I had played Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption, and then I played Grand Theft Auto 5. It wasn't for me. I think what it is I'm mad that I'm not able to get into it like everyone else. I want to love that game. I so desperately do, because I recognize that there is a genius there. There is an incredible gaming experience there, and it's just not clicking for me. So it's making me mad. I want to love Grand Theft Auto 5. As much as I hate on it, I want to love it. Okay. I applaud them for doing all of the things that I don't like in Grand Theft Auto 5, because they experimented, and I want a gaming studio to experiment and try new things and not do the safe bet and just phone it in. So really, a lot of that, quote unquote hatred is probably just me. It kind of is, right? It's just me being petty. Let's be real. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a great game, and I've said that too. To a lot of people, it's a great game. It deserves all the accolades. It deserves all the respect. Just for me personally, it wasn't my Grand Theft Auto. There's there's 2 different directions I feel like they can go with now, and I like the other direction. So that's just why. And again, I am going to give it another playthrough before Grand Theft Auto 6, a heavily modded one though, to get rid of a lot of the things I don't like about it. I just read off my Grand Theft Auto 4 list. That's for Grand Theft Auto 4. Imagine what I'm going to do with Grand Theft Auto 5. So I'll give it a go again. But good question, though. Then we have Xstrummer89. Question, do you think Rockstar will lose the plot with GTA 6 Online like they did with GTA 5? Flying bikes, orbital attacks, etc. Yeah, just not maybe as fast for our next 20-year online experience. I can't predict the future, but I can tell you what I think. I think eventually they will do something like that. I think if they do something like that from the jump, they're going to completely ruin the experience, and no one's going to play it. It's gonna have to be the next high that they give players, because basically at the beginning, every little thing like getting the apartment is a big deal, right? But eventually it's like, okay, now we need newer and cooler stuff for you to get. What's next? So eventually they do have to kind of get into those fantastical elements. That, or they could, introduce new areas, new properties, and make it to where when you're building a drug empire or some sort of crime business, doesn't have to be a drug empire, but a business empire and gang, and you're able to make logos and stuff in 5, and it was really cool. And they need to make it to where it's kind of more like conquest. So like paint the map, like, oh, I own this business over here, I own this business over here. I'm going to war with that guy. I'm going to war with that guy. Real players. That's how they would get away from, that's how they would get around that. That's how they would have a game that's constantly interesting without having to throw new items in there for players to chase the next high, the next new thing to grind towards. I don't like how Grand Theft Auto 5 is laid out now in online, and it needs some work. So here's hoping that the next Grand Theft Auto Online iteration is more like that, more realistic, and I think that is the direction they're going. But we'll see. Again, nothing is confirmed at this moment. So good question. Then we have Metalamat 10 question. Do you think Rockstar will tell us how much bigger the map is than GTA 5's when they release the game, or the map, or maybe in the trailer? I don't know. Maybe. I don't really think it matters too much. Like, I think once you get your hands on the game, you'll kind of just know if you've played 5, like, I think one of the first things everyone likes to do when they get their game, get one of these games, is hit the pause menu and look around the map, at least if it's revealed, and see what all's available. But it is also kind of fun to see it open up. I would expect it to be bigger than 5. And if not bigger than 5, it's at least going to feel bigger. So I wouldn't worry about it. But that's an interesting question. Yeah. So then now we have Murph's Sports Super Show 3810. Question: do you prefer the new limited weapons system coming in GTA 4 or the current, or GTA 6, I'm sorry, or the current system, and why? Yes, I prefer a limited weapons system. And the reason why is because before a mission, it's not fun to like go into something and then pull a bazooka out of your butt and just have a bunch of stuff. It's not even just that it's not realistic, but you're removing a whole nother aspect of gameplay. Before I go into a mission, like think about a game like Ready or Not. Before you do a mission, you know the mission briefing and all that. You go and you kit out your guys with the stuff that you think would be best to do the job. That's cool. That's fun. And then you see if you were right, like if you were tactically prepared for that encounter. And it's cool because when you do a loadout and you pack up and get equipment and stuff for a mission and you pull it off and everything goes swimmingly, it's so rewarding because you did that. You prepared for it. You thought ahead and you were correct in your assumption that you needed those items, those weapons, gear, and all that stuff to accomplish the mission, and you did it. So it adds a whole nother aspect to the game of rewarding the player and makes you feel better when you're doing missions. So yeah, I absolutely prefer it. It's funny, things like this on the surface sound punishing to people, but it's like, these are the things that help ground the game in reality, one, but two, will actually lead to you feeling better about doing the things that you're doing and accomplishing the goals that you're accomplishing. That's why I like it when games punish you really severely for death, because games get really boring when you run around and there's no consequences for death. Like, death should be punishing in a video game, because if it's not, what are we doing here? What's the point? You know what I mean? So if you want those firefights to feel like firefights, death has to be punishing. So for that same reason, that's why I like a limited weapon system, especially if you run out of ammo and there's a limited ammo thing, then you're really sweating in those firefights, counting your bullets, stuff like that. It just makes it so much more engaging and immersive. It makes it a lot better. There's this whole thing on YouTube nowadays and be like, oh, gaming's not fun anymore. It's like, well, you guys are playing namby-pamby games with training wheels. It's like, take the training wheels off and play it, grow up with the games, Like, the stuff's out there. And I'm not saying that anyone who likes games easier or whatever is dumb or, a child or whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's like when you smoke a cigar. If you're a cigar smoker, you start off with the light ones. The longer you smoke cigars, eventually you're going to want those darker ones that originally would have made you vomit when you first smoked them for their complex flavor profiles. Now that's where we're getting with games. If you've grown up with games and games aren't doing it for you anymore, it's because you're not being challenged anymore. You're not being stimulated anymore. You're not getting the stories. If you play games for stories, you're not getting the story that you want anymore. Look elsewhere. Playing the same game, expecting to get that thrill back, to get the vibe back, it ain't going to work. Those worked when you were a kid, or when you were just younger in general. But now you crave something new. You crave a challenge. So try new things. Look elsewhere. That's why I recommend Squad to anyone who grew up playing like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But now thinks it's just a boring sports shooter because, Call of Duty has kind of become like the TikTok of first-person shooters. It's all about like instant gratification. Now. I would look for slower burn things because they're ultimately more rewarding in my opinion. And I think having stuff like a limited weapon system adds to that. So I hope that answered that question. Sorry, kind of went off the rails there. Next, we have Prestinex. And I'm sorry about these stupid dogs. I tell you, we have these stupid wild dogs running around. I hate them. They are annoying. They destroy the property. And they are getting into it from the sounds of it. So if you hear dogs barking, sorry, nothing I can do about it. All right, now we have, Prestinex D8004. Question. Will players who bought/pre-ordered a digital version of the game be forced to spend more money on a physical edition if the physical copies do in fact release after the digital launch? Seems pretty unfair to me. I didn't buy a PS5 with the disc tray for no reason. On another note, Rockstar is Chad for throwing money away just to make the game more polished. I don't care how long it has been. The eve of Grand Theft Auto 6 is finally in the air, and I'm itching to experience the game. I remember feeling this way the year Red Dead Redemption 2 was going to drop. Yeah, for that second half, totally agree. I'm glad they gave it the time it needed. It sucks it's been getting delayed. It does. But it's also a good sign. It means that if they're not ready, they're not ready. And I trust them. I would much rather them delay it than release a broken piece of crap that doesn't work. We know that launch stories haunt developers for years. I mean, we talked about Fallout 76 in this podcast, so we know how bad it can get. I don't think physical copies are going to cost more, and if they do, that's going to be horrible press for them. It should not. It should not cost more for a physical copy. I don't know, but it would be really stupid for them to do that. Like really stupid. So I hope they don't. Good questions. TBJR1127 question. Do you think GTA 6 will have any representation of NASA or SpaceX as a native Yes. You're okay, but real quick. As a native Floridian in the area, we see rocket launches every other day like clockwork. I almost said something else. It would be cool to see it in the game. Yes, I do. Go watch my space video. I know my space video is unhinged, but go watch it. I talk about it. There is going to be a space program in the game. And that's really all I have to answer that because I forgot the name of the space program. You know, it's very early and I'm drinking coffee and it's been a long time since I've talked about space in Grand Theft Auto 6, but I do have a space video on my channel. Highly recommend you go check it out. If it's not in the game, then it's going to be cut content, but it is something that from the time of making that video, we knew that they were working on based off of the data from the 2022 leaks and leak code, all that kind of stuff. So go check that out. And that should answer some questions and give you some speculation on potentially what that would look like and be a much better answer. Albeit one that's very like, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to space. Just go check it out. At least get a laugh or two out of it. Let's see. We got this new one over here. We have Red Misfit. Question, Andy. There's this online debate where many people believe Lucia will be the central primary character in the story rather than Jason. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I do not think that is going to be the case. I think that would be really doing themselves a disservice and doing the community a disservice because a lot of us are guys. We were going to want to play as a guy. That's just all there is to it. Lucia seems like she's going to be a really cool, well-written character, but I'm not a chick. I'm a dude. I want to play as a dude. Sorry, is what it is. I think Rockstar's smart enough to know this, and I don't think that's going to be a thing. Now, if this is coming from any of that, what's that guy's name? That comedian, Andy Shorts, something, Pants, Andy Pants. Unfortunately, shares the same name as me. That guy. He's a grifter, and he makes a bunch of videos about everything being woke and stupid and all that kind of stuff. If that is coming from that, well, first off, the guy I saw this video recently. I saw clips of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw he'd put something out about like, oh, look, these are the guys who are making Grand Theft Auto 6. And he's just like, do you really want these guys right here making Grand Theft Auto 6? And it's like a picture of the women, and it's just women. And it's because it was like Women's Day at Rockstar, and they took it for a social media post. And that's what he chose. It's like, dude, you know what you're doing. Like, he knew what he was doing. Now, I've watched his videos over the years, like off and on, like just to see what he's up to, because it's just the dude's unhinged. I thought he was a comedian at first, but I'm not so sure anymore. Like, I thought it was just comedy. And so I used to watch his videos and think they were funny because they thought they were ironic. I didn't think he was being serious because it's just so stupid. But after he made his little game where he puts his daughter in the game, by the way, and even has media that should not be in video games that Epstein would love. So, Epstein would have loved his game. But there's a reason his game got pulled from everything because of the content, quote unquote, it contains. the Cyberpunk 2077 materials that it contains. It's pretty bad. But anyways, the guy's loony, I think, because I don't know, there's this whole thing of him like crying at his church about everything going on. And there's also this thing that came out about him like doing Xbox and him being like, oh, I think games need more diversity and all this. And the guy's just weird. The guy's gross. I think the reason he's doing all this crap is because I think it may have started out as a joke. Like, what if I do some like grift thing? And then it blew up. And then he's got a bunch of like kids who are like 12 and 15 being like based bros totally onto it, a bunch of virgins rallying behind him being like, dude, so right. And it's not to say that, the whole like woke stuff that was out there wasn't getting a little annoying. And I'm using the conservative definition of it now, not the true meaning of the word. And it was getting really preachy and really annoying. I don't think it needed that level of backlash. And it's like, yeah, sure, beat up the Saints Row remake for the reasons it sucks. But, don't come after Grand Theft Auto 6. It's not going to be woke. Like, what? So, but he knew that we'd get a lot of clicks and views. So anyways, I think he made this grift channel, whatever. It makes him a bunch of money in ad revenue. And he's supporting his family. He's got a daughter and all this stuff. I don't know what that game thing was about. I don't know why he put the materials in there. He did. I don't know. It was to prove a point. So I think now he has gone too far and the money is too good and he can't come back from it. That's what I think. That or the guy is just a loon and just totally mentally unstable. Either way, good for him, I guess. I feel sorry for that guy, like really, like legit. That's rough, So, but I hate to see this idiot put out a bunch of stuff out there that gets people asking questions like this. They're putting fear into games. They're putting fear into gamers like, oh no, it's Rockstar's going woke, It's a bunch of clickbait BS and the guy's an idiot. So that's all there is to it. He's either an idiot or he's mentally ill. So I feel really, really bad for the dude. Feel bad for his family. It sucks that that's the only way their father can provide for them. Really, it really sucks. But anyways, to answer your question, no, I don't think that we're primarily going to be Lucia. All right, Daryl Cox, U6H something. God bless my friend. I can't wait for this game. If Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be this good, can't imagine Red Dead Redemption 3. Wait, are you going to ask a question or did... No, you're not. Okay, next. So sorry. But hey, shout out to Daryl Cox. Okay, here's a question. So T_TA, so that's like a little face you got there, 1300. Question: what are the odds we get trailer 3 soon, considering they're about to have the earnings call tomorrow? It's probably going to be a minute, if I'm being honest. I had really thought we were going to get it in November, so I was like, that's when I put out like that big video. One of them, I have 2 mega videos that are a bunch of my videos combined together and repurposed just because it helps me out. It gives me like some time off and helps with ad revenue. I'm not going to lie, it does. But also I add new content to it. Like I add little bits in between the videos and it gives you guys a way to listen to it all in long form. So I view it as a mutually beneficial thing to do for the channel. Now, if I did that for everything, that would be another story, but I don't. So anyways, I think it's going to be a little bit, but I don't know. I was totally wrong the last time. I predicted November and I was wrong. So I can't give you a good prediction. Sorry. All right, we got Hawks fan Matt Man. Question for you. One of the biggest parts of every GTA game, that I think doesn't necessarily get a lot of coverage, is the soundtrack. Next to the story and the graphics, it's absolutely one of my favorite parts of the game, and I'm curious how important the music will be in Grand Theft Auto 6. As a content creator, it sucks that you can't play the music in your videos. I'm also curious as to how you would like to see Rockstar handle the music component in GTA 6, be it the old traditional radio stations that don't really exist anymore, or something more modern like satellite radio or Spotify. Exactly that. I think we're going to have some sort of Spotify integration in the game. We should. And traditional radio stations are still out there. Yeah, they are. So, and they should still have them. But they should have the Spotify element as well. Because that's what we use. You should be able to link the game to your Spotify. Why not? And you should be able to add your own custom music, as always. Don't do both. And I hope the music is good. I wasn't a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto 5's music, and music these days is all over the place. You can find total absolute gold and then the polar opposite. So, I do tend to gravitate towards like 80s sounding stuff. So I like this like whole synthwave, resurgence kind of thing, dark wave, post-punk, all that kind of stuff. I love metal. I don't really like the way metal's gone these days. It's just kind of, it feels It just kind of feels boring and predictable, like the big metal bands and stuff that are out there. So maybe I'm not digging deep enough, but metal's just not doing it for me anymore because it's not doing what I want it to do, you know? Anyways, that's a tangent. So I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to be able to land the soundtrack the way they did for Vice City, just because that was such an iconic time for music. We'll see, though. We'll see. I don't know. And I like your idea about Spotify being integrated into the game. And I think it's what we're going to see. And I think it would be really dumb if they didn't. Can you imagine you're playing Grand Theft Auto 6 and it's like, sign up for your Spotify subscription. And then it takes you over to a checkout screen. You got to like enter your card info. Who knows, man? Who knows at this point? Good questions, man. It's good to hear from you, Hawks fan Matt Man. Hawks fan Matt Man. Love saying your name. All right, then we got Big Bash 8011. Hey, Andy, question. With all these incredibly long development cycles for games that games have become too big, cinematic, and ambitious for, or have games become too big, cinematic for their own good? Another question related to the last one. Well, first off, let me answer that. Yes, they have, but I think that's going to change with AI. And not because everything's going to be AI generated slop, but I think that they're going to find a lot of things that could be sped up and a lot of efficiencies with the monotony of creating like finely detailed stuff with AI. And they're going to be able to still have that handcrafted element, but with the assistance of AI, be able to do it a million times faster. And that could be done with today's current tools. So I think we're going to get to a point where you're going to be getting these big cinematic experiences a lot more often. It's just, you know, it's going to have to use some AI assistance. We're at that point now to where only human hands can only do so much. To where technology is finally caught up with the human being's ability to create these worlds. And now we need new tech to make it even better. If that makes any sense. And then another question related to the last one. Do you think new gaming hardware should expand its lifetime to 10 or more years, considering how long it takes just for one game to come out? I think that, no, I think it's based off what I just said, that would make that question irrelevant, you know, because at that point, I think games are going to speed back up. I think we're going to start seeing games, not like Grand Theft Auto 3 coming out in 2001 and then Vice City in 2002, not like that, but like 3 to 5 year waits instead of, or 3 or 4 year waits instead of like 10, 15 year waits. But if they do continue that, and that seems to be where it is, I think, you know what? I think for the long run, the idea is they should come out with a machine, a console. Like think about the Steam machine. They should come out with a console. And when you get this console, it's great. And you shouldn't have to buy a new console later. You should be able to buy an upgrade for it, like a PC, you know? Maybe it comes with a graphics module. They make it easy to where you pop and swap. So you pop it in, pops out. You got your graphics card. You go get a new one. You pop it in. Boom. Modular. That way, you know, you have your Xbox Series S and X and all that. Just have an Xbox platform and then have this one ships with the top of the line components. This one ships with this. You know, that way they can last longer. I don't know. I don't know how they would do it or what the business model would look like. Ultimately, it's going to be whatever makes them the most money. That's how it works. But good questions. Now we have Inspired 593. Man, so many questions today. I love it. I think we got 5 left. So, all right, Inspired 593. Question, not really a question. Your song, Lend Me Your Heart, is in my top 10 songs. Dude, that means a lot to me. You can't get it out of your head. And as a big creator for GTA 6, you are not only creating a community on YouTube, but you are also helping help pushing hype for Rockstar's biggest game of all time. I genuinely feel like I could be listening to your masterpiece while driving around the map, doing missions. Man, really, thanks for the love bomb. And he says, I would urge you to find a way to contact someone who will be able to get you set up and at least add one song to the radio. I'd also be willing to help you do so. Man, I appreciate that. I'm telling you that it's not going to happen. Doesn't matter who we contact. They've got that already dialed in. I appreciate the sentiment though. And if you guys want to check it out, maybe I'm working on an album in my free time. Maybe I'll put that up and maybe y'all can help me out on Spotify. And then Spotify will be most likely be in Grand Theft Auto 6, hopefully. And then you can jam it there. Really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. Thank you. I love making music. I feel like AI has kind of robbed a lot of creators of the wow factor of showing people their songs. And that sucks because now people can be like, oh yeah, that's cute. That took you 250 hours to make and a bunch of rewrites. And you're talking about this experience, this experience, this experience. Look at this prompt I put into Suno, bro. You know, so I don't know. It sucks. Moving on. Now we have I_LV_RDR2 question. And this has upvotes. I'm going to just upvote it. In fact, real quick, before I answer that, you're going to hear clicks because I'm going down and I'm going to heart all of you. Right now, I'm hearting all of you in this moment. So wherever you are, whatever you are doing, know that in this moment, Dandy Andy is hearting your comment so that it doesn't pop up when he searches questions again. Good Lord, y'all. You had so many questions today. And I'm happy you did. And if I've missed your question, by the way, I'm sorry. It's just how everything's laid out on the back end. So just on this video, type your question, and I'll answer it in a future video. Especially if I've missed it. Copy and paste it and put it on this podcast. All right. So finally, ILVRDR2. Question. Do you think it would be cool to have an ending where Jason and Lucia die like Bonnie and Clyde? Or another idea, you have to choose whether you do something like go back to the money in Red Dead Redemption 2 or choose if Jason turns in Lucia to the police or vice versa. And also thanks for the video, man. You always keep me excited. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, thanks for the comment. Thanks for the question. I've answered this before. Yeah, I think we're going to have something like that at the end. I don't know how we could, especially because it seems like it's going to be like we're going to be on the run. It seems like Lucia is going to be pulling Jason into doing crime. He's going to be reluctantly doing it, or maybe he has his interest wrapped up elsewhere. There's going to be some sort of divide between the two. And that's why you have the whole like trust thing in the trailer. It's already shown us that there's a rift there between the two. And now they're over here being like, are we good? Are we on the same page? I think they're going to have a spicy relationship and it's going to end explosively. I'll say that. Good question. Aiden Cooper, 9346. Question. If your car is your inventory like Red Dead Redemption 2's horse, do you think we will also get the whistle to call to position a feature? I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at your question. I'm laughing at the idea of like using an actual like gym whistle to get your car to come to you because I would love that feature. Similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk, and any Witcher, do you think we will have the cinematic auto drive button like in RDR2? I don't know if we'll have an auto drive button. That would be cool. Like if your character could just drive and you could just chill, because there's so many long driving segments in Grand Theft Auto games that it would be nice to just do that and listen to the radio and let your guy drive. That's one of my favorite things about Grand Theft Auto 4's taxis. It's being able to hop in the back, look around in first person and listen to the radio and the taxi driver comment on stuff. It's fun. And really, really immersive. I do think that there's probably going to be a way to get our car to us. I think it's going to work like Cyberpunk's, like you're saying, in Red Dead Redemption's horse, to where it's wherever you park your car is where you park it. It is your car. So like in Grand Theft Auto 5, you had default cars. You're going to be able to swap that. And when I played that, I remember thinking like, why can't I do that? It feels obvious, right? So it'd be dumb for them not to do that now. So you should have the ability to take whatever car that you were driving and make that now your default car. Whether you'll be able to call it to you or not, I think you'll be able to, like in Cyberpunk, but I don't know. They might want to remove that and make it to where you have to go get it, like in real life. Where'd you leave your car? That's where your car is, And I think that would probably be the way to do it. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it made sense in Cyberpunk to do that because, it's the future. But we'll see how they do it with Grand Theft Auto 6. Great question. All right, 2 more. Repair guy at work. Well, I hope you are having a great day if you're working. Do you think there will be cheats on story mode like in all other Grand Theft Autos, man? I really miss finishing the story or even saving first, then taking a chaos break. Yeah, I remember the chaos breaks. And just having a blast with pedestrians, riot cheats. Oh, I love those. The super jumps. Ones or all the other fun ones. And man, I never comment on anything, but I just had to say this. You're awesome, dude, and don't stop being you. Thanks for real and telling us how you really felt when asked, how are you? I listen and I've watched all your videos at work. Best GTA creator for sure. And also told myself to start a YouTube channel December 31st, 2025. I started it, but still haven't gotten 1/5 of the way there to finishing it. I don't know how you do it so often, but you inspire to not give up when that's all I want to do. Man, I subbed to you at like 3.2K and I see you're almost at 30 and what seems like no time at all. Thank you for what you do, dude. Also, your music recommendations were good stuff, man. Dude, wow. Thank you so much for that. These are the comments, it's funny. It's always the negative comments that stick in your head, but these are the comments that should stick in my head. So I'm hearting that right now. So whenever you get that notification, know that that's reading the podcast while I'm doing it. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. It's been a blast doing this, and I'm so thankful to have you here. And I will tell you, good luck on your gaming channel. Anyone can do it. It's a lot of work. It is hard work. And like we talked about earlier in the podcast, anything worth doing is hard as hell. and you're going to have a lot of doubts, and things aren't going to work, and you're going to think everyone hates you or doesn't like your stuff, and it's just because you haven't found what works for you yet. And then eventually you'll find it, and then once you find it, you're like, oh my gosh, how can I juggle this long enough? It starts. You're juggling balls when you start getting a bunch of traffic. You're like, how can I keep the traffic coming in? And then there's this weird balance of remaining authentic while giving people what they want, while doing what works, while doing what you want to do, all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. And yeah, I like to keep it real. So when people ask how I am, I'm going to tell them. And I think that goes a long way. I work on another YouTube channel for a living, for one of my jobs. And the YouTube channel, I've already outgrown them, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I've already outgrown them. And or just about, very, very, very close. And it's just like, they're not authentic, It's like, you got to be yourself. You got to be real with people. And it's like, I just tell them, I'm like, if y'all would just be real, your channel would blow up. Also, these uniform thumbnails are such a bad idea. I don't know. They're making a bunch of silly decisions with their YouTube. And I've checked out. I've stopped caring. I'm like, they do what they do, whatever. We're getting the money that we need to get. It is what it is. So it is really cool to see me, like when I go off and do it, to see that reaffirmed. And, being authentic with people is, it's good. I'm being real with y'all, like 100%. Like the only thing I'm not real with y'all about is throughout this podcast, even though it might feel like one seamless take, every now and again, I'll hit the insert key on my keyboard because there'll be a huge loud noise or something. And, maybe I'll get mad and curse or something like that. Or I'll get up and go to the bathroom and come back and then hit insert. And now I know I can cut that. But everything else I leave in, all the mistakes and everything, because I want the podcast to feel authentic. And this is my way of talking and hanging out with all of you. So it's really cool. Now, as far as cheats being in the story mode, I hope so. I don't know. I think it would be dumb if they didn't. I think a good way of how they do it is having them hidden in the environment, and you find them and then you type them in or something, like they did in Grand Theft Auto 4. And yeah, I miss the pedestrians riot cheats too. At the very least, just expect on PC, like when that cheat or whenever that comes out, eventually we'll have like a, what do they call them? I forget what they call them, like trainers, something like that. And you'll be able to do whatever you want in the game. So that's kind of the new cheat codes and where it's at. The days of R1, R2, L1, R2, left down, right up are gone. It is what it is. But, I appreciate all the really nice things you said, man. I hope your gaming channel does well. Let us know what it is whenever you release it, and we'll check it out. And good luck finishing it. And let's see. Now we have one more question. Dang. I think, okay, look, there's someone out there who commented a question, and I told him I would answer it in the next podcast, but I hearted it, I think, and now it's gone. And now I can't find them. So if that is you and I didn't answer your question, please just copy and paste it and just put question, type it in on this podcast, and I will answer it in the next episode. So for the last one, let's close it out with Nick Gillingham, 5575. Question, will there be saddlebags on motorcycles, do you think? That is a wild question out of absolutely nowhere. Not because it's dumb or anything, but just because I would have never thought about it. I think basically, I'll answer your question like this. I think that if there isn't, or it doesn't really matter, I think that the bike inventory is going to work the same way as the car inventory, like it does in Cyberpunk. So in Cyberpunk, you can go and pop the trunk, and even the popping the trunk thing is totally optional. You don't have to do that. You just go up and press a button and access your inventory. I think that with motorcycles, it'll probably be the same thing, just for quality of life. It would be really silly if they didn't do it. Now, they might come up with a better idea and do something like saddlebags, and you have a limited inventory space instead of being able to access like your inventory hub from like these connecting points. So for instance, accessing your inventory from the back of a car in Cyberpunk opens up your entire player inventory hub of everything you've stored, but maybe there'll be separate containers and different storage stuff. That might be a little too complex for Rockstar and a little bit more DayZ-like, but we'll see. I don't know. That's a weird question to end the podcast on, but I appreciate you asking it, man. Actually, you asked this question while I was recording this. You asked this 12 minutes ago. So, dude, you got in last second. So that's really cool. So thank you, Nick Gillingham, for being here with me today and answering or asking that question. And now you'll know when I recorded this based off of what I just said. So anyways, y'all, I appreciate you so much for listening. I hope you guys are playing the PlayStation 5 Codebreaker thing. I feel really kind of cheesy and dumb doing it because it's the first time I've done it, but I wanted to make it special and fun, with codes. I don't know if I've made it too hard or too easy, so we'll see. I've got a video coming out soon that's going to have like a bunch of codes in it. So I think it has six of them. And then you got to remember, I'm yawning. You got to remember when you add all the codes together, don't just email me codes. I've ignored people who've done that because I'm like, y'all chill. Like I've had people send me like, like one of the numbers. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And you know what? If you listen to the podcast and you got this far, I think it's only fair that you're current on the numbers. So the current numbers that have been released are 57, 68, 61, 74, 20, 69, 73, 20, 74, 68. And those last 6 numbers haven't been released yet. Those are coming out on a video. So if you made it this far and you just heard me read off all those numbers, you don't even have to go catch them anymore. Now you are this far ahead. And I think in total there's like 36 numbers, but I've been getting emails from people and they send me like 68, and I'm like, dude, slow your roll. Like you got to put the code together, and I haven't even released all the numbers yet. So I shouldn't even be getting emails. But we'll see. So those are all the current codes, a little surprise drop for my podcast listeners. So I would write those down somewhere because it's not going to be that much longer. All the codes are going to be out. You're going to have all these numbers in front of you and have them all lined up in chronological order. And sorry for that weird little burp thing there. I'm trying to talk, but I'm like chugging coffee. You're going to have these code sequence lined up, and then you're just going to have to be like, okay, I got all these numbers. They're lined up. What do they mean? And saying ChatGPT might be your friend when that time comes. Just saying. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to the Dandy Andy Experience. This was a cool episode, man. It was cool hanging out with y'all. I hope you made it this far. And if you did, you got a little treat there at the end, a little something. I got to hook up my podcast listeners. There's less of y'all, but y'all listen, y'all hang out, and that's cool. So I don't know. I know the videos are more like, hey, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. But here we're hanging out, and I think it's cool. So thank you all so much for listening. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. It would help me out a lot, especially with this podcast form. People don't really. This is a harder sell for people. So if you could like and subscribe, or at the very least, just like the video. If you don't want to subscribe, it would help me out tremendously. Or use your hype points. And also thank you to everyone who's done your super thanks and super chats and all that kind of stuff. Not super chats, super thanks. Those tips and donations do help a lot, and they are all going to the PlayStation 5 giveaway. So thank you so much. No, they're not. They're going to me, and then I'm using that money to then buy the PS5. I can't say the other thing because that would be a lottery, and that's not what we're doing here. It's a giveaway. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day. That's all I got. Much love and peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dandy Andy Experience.